So, Jim, let's talk about carrot bars in terms of how many new people are coming in and why they're coming in. What reasons do they tell you?
Well, they all come in for different reasons, but the general reasons are the three things that I always ask them, which is why I ask that question, so to find out why they're coming in, which is a free account that they can set up at the privacy of their home on a secure server so that they can buy gold privately at any time that they want, as often or as little as they want. The possibility of generating enough referral bonuses to not have to buy gold out of pocket.
Right.
I mean, that alone is a pretty exciting for a lot of people, because people want gold, but they can't afford it. The economy's bad, things are tight, and so I say, well, if we go out and talk to enough people, you can generate enough that you can acquire gold. And every gram of gold I've acquired through carrot bars, I have not come out of pocket for any of it. So that's a very appealing thing. So that's another reason they come in.
Yeah.
And then, of course, just the opportunity to build a possible walk-away residual income is very appealing. And another thing I would add is people really, that goes with all three of these, people are very, very concerned about what's going on with the economy. People understand that the paper money system is in serious trouble, and that's a big motivator. So I find that.
What do you think's happening to the paper money system that's unique compared to even previous crashes, 2008, going right back to 29, and even further back to the Lombardy tally stick crash of the 14th century? What's different about today?
Well, the biggest things I see different about today is we don't have the savings mindset that we had in the past. So people now are totally up to their eyeballs in debt. They have no savings. People are much more dependent on the infrastructure for their survival. They don't grow their own food. They don't do their own stuff. So those aren't directly related to the paper money system, but they do definitely impact. Because if the paper money system continues to take the slide and the dive that it's going to, people are going to have to figure out a way to operate. And if they don't know how to make their own food, they don't know how to barter, and they don't have skills that they can utilize to generate some sort of a way of acquiring food through bartering or trade or exchanging gold, that's a problem. So those are some of the key differences. I'm not a technician or an economist, but I understand that we've never been in the position we are right now. So that's another difference. And by that I mean we're above GDP in a way that we haven't been even during the Depression, and that's never talked about.
Right.
And of course, even then, we still had some semblance of tied to precious metals. I mean, we had the Norwood Agreement up until 1971, so there was some sort of a tie to something of value, but there's nothing now. It's totally tied to the production of our country, so that we are actually the cattle.
Well, it goes beyond that, actually, because we talked about this literally every week for maybe almost a dozen years now. At Carly Schlanger from the Rouge Foundation, what basically is happening is they not only untied it with gold, in 1997, I believe it was 98, under the Clinton administration, they get rid of the Glass-Steagall Act, which was present since the 1930s. And Glass-Steagall put a wall between regular banking and speculative banking, so the bankers are taking our money and speculating on it. And actually, up to a few years ago, they were making 3 times the money they could in the real economy. So they buy and sell each other's stocks, and the stock market's never been higher, which is insane considering everything. Because when the system does blow, the stock market's going to explode.
Well, and that's higher only in inflated dollars, not in real buying power. So actually the stock market is down, but that's a really well hidden and masked reality. That's
well, just like the unemployment statistics, where you can't say that someone's unemployed, not unemployed if they're not seeking work because they can't find it, or they're, so 95 million Americans that are not in the workforce, you can't quote 5.5% unemployment rate. That's just not rational.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing that's missed a lot of times too, and a lot of these numbers that are jockeyed around, is buying power, and that's the key to carrot bars. We want to provide a safety net which preserves your future buying power. So if you have gold, that's right now all indicators, even the system's admitting that the value of gold is being suppressed. When the lid's let off of that box and gold goes to its real actual buying power versus the paper money system, some speculate that gold's really probably worth 2 to 3 times of what we're being told it is, and silver's probably 4 to 5 times of what we're really told it is.
Yeah, so there's a number of what I call lever points that can push it over the edge. The first and most likely is that the bailing in of cash, because the European Central Commission is trying to force nations that don't want to do it because they'll have a pitchfork revolution in Germany, Italy, and Spain.
Yeah.
And these are major economies. They're not minor economies in the world. The second area is that we're now on a war footing where NATO and the West are going to be in direct military conflict with Russian troops and much Russian Air Force in Syria. That's actually in the next couple of weeks. The third area is we're accumulating large divisions of troops on the Russian border and moving toward Crimea, the idea that we're going to retake a territory which is historically Russian, with 96% Russian population, and the Russians have circled it around with some of the most advanced weapons they've ever had. The next one is the South China Sea. We're ticking off the Chinese rather than trying to develop the resources and both make money on it and help the Filipinos who don't have the technical resources to make a deal, because the Philippine new prime minister wants to develop the resources with the Chinese. You know, I've learned an important principle: usage is ownership. Who cares what's on a piece of paper? If you can collaborate with another country to develop a resource, do you really have to have a piece of paper that says you own that piece of land? It doesn't make sense. So the powers that be are pulling out what I call the war card, because the economy is in the trash bin.
Yeah.
And
well, I think
might take months or years to develop, but there's hot spots burning everywhere, including the terrorism. We have to understand the terrorism is being pushed by, and I won't use what I call the hyperbole and the sarcasm of Trump, and call Hillary and Obama the founders of ISIS, but I can say they were the major contributors of the vacuum that created ISIS, and when it was there, they actually trained them. In fact, I saw pictures of Mr. McCain in 2011 standing with the ISIS people in a town outside Amman, and we make sure that we give it to divisions of ISIS that we consider not terrorist, like Al-Nusra, and the weapons end up in the hand, including satellite phones and military weapons and ground-to-air missile systems, what's called manpads, end up in the hands of these characters. So, you know, right. Obama and Hillary have created it. The same way as Obama was meeting Black Lives Matter has amplified the situation as why Milwaukee's going crazy. So I can tell you, we're at a crossroads. I was just sitting in the front of Drudge, the Soros, manipulation of world influence with crisis cash for social justice, they call it. It's not social justice. It's social chaos. And the powers that be gain from the war card and from social chaos card, which is why they're flooding Europe. For every dollar they spend in Europe, they could help 11 people more in their home country if we just used a proper system. So people need to understand the powers that be are not trying to help the situation. They're like trying to jump on the burning house to make sure the roof falls in.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and I hope and it's going to fall in soon. My guess is, because this election is so important, not just for America, but for the whole New World Order characters, these maniacs like Soros and the international bankers, they want to pull something off beforehand. They've done several attempts to assassinate Trump already. One was last week when they tried to spin the story. They're pushing Hillary Clinton, who's not physically fit to work in a senior home, let alone run the country. I mean, it's ridiculous. And the number of crimes that she's done is so great, but they don't care what puppet they put in her as long as the puppet will do what they tell them to do. So my guess is
the key is they're a puppet.
Yeah, the key is they're a puppet. Now, the thing that I tell people, if you have to take control of your own future, you can't wait for Trump to fix it, or Hillary to destroy it, or Obama in a third term if they declare martial law. You can't wait. You have to take care of the control of yourself, just like healthcare. We tell people, don't submit to your allopathic doctor alone. There are a few things within allopathic medicine that are helpful, but you need to have discernment, and you can contact me and I'll tell you what they are. You need to not just submit to your naturopath, your chiropractor, or your massage therapist as your only treatment for whatever condition you have. The same way as your finances, you need to take control, which is if you don't get in care bars, and honestly, I've looked at all kinds of other systems, including even the OneCoin thing. The only one that has all the features, again, G. Everett Griffin said this, he likes to see a competitive thing to see which one emerges. It's almost like watching mixed martial arts every week, where they have all these different martial arts skills, jiu-jitsu and whatever, Brazilian jiu-jitsu and other things. Well, the fact is, if you look at the skill sets of Carrot Bars and the way it's managed in Germany, it's like the top mixed financial martial arts artist, okay? So when you put your bets on Carrot Bars, you're going to end up accumulating wealth and building a downline that goes to infinity, and you're way ahead of the game. And most people can afford to cut out a latte a day, Monday to Friday, and accumulate at least 1.5, maybe 2 grams of gold every month, and it just sponsor 2 people. I think, and the fact is that we offer our help to trade. For example, we have people now, we're getting in your group, we have one gentleman who's Portuguese who actually just contacted us, and we got in your group in the last week or so. But you see, you've got to be consistent, you've got to work deep, you've got to get inspired by the people that are doing the system, and you have to just realize it is work, but it's fun work. It's just sharing. It's sharing how to save in gold. I mean, that's how simple it is.
By the way, the gentleman that you're talking about, we've been working with him directly, coaching him on some things, and he's very, very pumped. And he's actually been in a while, but he just didn't have a lot of direction. So
exactly, yeah. Now this is what happens. Some people will reactivate. So that's why we have the program regularly, because listeners will say, I haven't been doing it 6 months, but if I do this, a half an hour a day, 4 days, 5 days a week, and if I'm working with my downline and I work with my upline people like yourself, Jim and Pete, we're going to succeed at building a future for me, not only me, but my community. You have to ask yourself the questions. Do I want my friends and neighbors and colleagues to be in financial destitution because the paper money system goes bye-bye? And it's going to go bye-bye. I mean, if they're trying to destroy the system, it means in the wings they have an alternative system which is going to be nasty. It'll be a biometric system. It'll be a cashless system. It'll be everything's in our supercomputer, by the way, have a nice day kind of system.
Right. Well, the thing that I've always said, too, is, jokingly, I say I've never heard of anybody being upset or disappointed about having a garage full of gold. Of course, the joke is simply that a lot of people don't want to get into marketing deals because they wind up with a garage full of product that either goes bad, can't use it, don't use it, or whatever. Well, that's never going to happen with gold. And in fact, this is the kind of product that you want to get a garage full of, because the longer you have it, unlike many products, the better it becomes. So, you just can't go wrong. It's the right product. It's the right time. The way the product is structured, it's going to pass the acid test of the worst possible scenario, because it is gold from LBMA refineries. It is verified by a third party as being what it is. This isn't our opinion. This is outside sources that are saying, yes, this is what we say it is. And we've had people spot test it, and it turns out to be not only what we say it is, but usually a little bit better.
A little bit better than that. So give us some clues on how to motivate your downline. We don't have access to your downline. If you're listening to us and you've been sponsored over the last, I think 9-10 months now through Nutrimedical 7, which is our main website, and of course we have our sons and daughter and all of our people that work for us and so on have got gold or better packages, VIP packages. The key issue is that you're getting sponsored people from us through the show, through our contacts, and what you need to do is work on your other leg, because we're giving you what's called power leg people. You need to work on your banking leg. So how does that work in terms of cycling and contact? I tell people, just make a list. Santa Claus, check it twice, get 5 people. Contact your upline. We'll call them. We'll do the sizzle call. Most people are embarrassed after they hear it once. You say, "You're kidding? That's all I got to do is dial a phone number and play the call and ask if they're interested." That's it. Right. You're kidding. I mean,
yeah. Well, the thing is, motivation is a part of it, but the much bigger piece is, I don't focus so much on motivating. Well, I'll tell you how I motivate my people, but I don't focus so much on motivating them as I do trying to find the people that are motivated. That's a big difference.
Right.
Because if you can identify and locate those people that are motivated, guess what happens? You get some things going, and then guess what you can do? You can go back to the people that aren't motivated and say, look at what's happening. Because, one of the mistakes I see people doing in marketing is they go, quote unquote, and try to motivate their people. Well, I call that mother henning them to death. In other words, you're trying to sit on them and hatch them, and they're waiting for you to go out and lead charge and show them that this can be done. So the key to motivating people is going and finding the people that are motivated. Go find them, and they're out there. And the thing is, they may not be the people that you know, but we have a system in place where we can work through your market, get to their market, and keep on going, digging until we find that motivated person, because they're out there. They're everywhere. Right. You just got to have a system that gets to them as quickly as possible with the least amount of resistance as possible, so you're expending as little energy as possible in finding them. If you take a lot of time and energy, I think I shared this analogy once before, and it's a good one. Right. We're like torchbearers. Just imagine you got one of these propane tanks with the little acetylene, attachment to it that shoots out that blue flame, right? Right. And you're out looking for combustible material. Well, this is what the average person does. He goes out, he finds something, and let's say it's a rock, and he doesn't understand about people yet. He doesn't know how people work. So he puts his flame on the rock, and he goes and he pulls his flame back, and the rock's not catching on fire. And he's going, I need to put more flame on it. So he puts the flame on it again. And he keeps doing that, and he keeps expecting the rock to burn. Well, rock is not combustible material. He's got to go find some wood, some hay, some straw, different things that are going to burn. Point is, they spend so much time and energy, quote unquote, motivating their people, they burn up all their fuel and their energy on that. They need to go out, because look, nothing motivates you more than going out and find somebody motivated. If you find somebody that's motivated for whatever reason, for timing, because they like the product, they got a great market, whatever, and they get pumped, guess what that's going to do for you and your team? That's going to motivate them. So don't spend all your time and energy putting the torch on rocks. Go find some combustible material. So that's what I say. Go out and find the people that are motivated. They're out there. Don't spend a lot of time and energy trying to convince people.
Usually they'll start with asking questions.
I ask questions and I identify if they're motivated.
Or they ask me questions. I have one gentleman, for example, he's functionally blind, and he's joining the network. He doesn't have a lot of money, but he's highly motivated on his own because he's listening. That's what he does. He listens to our program.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll take one person that's highly motivated without experience and without a large market over a person that's highly experienced with a large market. Because what we found is a lot of times you get these highly experienced marketing people with a large market, and they're prima donnas. They think that you should give them everything and do everything for them. And I'm like, no, I'll take a diamond in the rough that's hungry. I want somebody that's hungry. To me, motivation and hungry are one and the same. If they're hungry, they want it. Yeah. That's the guy I want to work with, because then I can teach him things he needs to do to be good.
And once they do it consistently for, say, 3 months, which is a 12-week period, and they start realizing they're getting free gold, and they realize that they actually have an accountant's building, and they actually realize they don't need brick and mortar. A good example, and I'm just going to put my bets here. Walmart bought Jet, which is Jet.com, to start going head-to-head with Amazon. Now, only 3% of their sales for Walmart is online. Now, unless they are able to do what's called intelligent marketing, so they can actually call through intelligently, like AI systems, what people like, whether it's music or specific products or co-products and other people to buy that product, buy it. Unless they're able to do that AI system and then really penetrate the market, they're not going to succeed. They've already closed a whole pile of stores. Now, they could have a formula where they can mix the two together and they'll beat Amazon to an extent. But the problem is, it's like you say, you've got to get people to realize that it is going to take a consistent effort, but it doesn't require you to have brick and mortar stores.
Right.
So the consistent effort and the realization that with your help, you're going to succeed. It's almost impossible. Like if you breathe in and out, you are going to get oxygen.
Yeah.
Back in a moment with Pete. This whole kind of modus is trying to realize. I'm going to look from the other side of this issue. Let's say the financial cracks have fallen. Let's say that we've now it's opened up. In other words, let's say it's a big storm and you're in Haiti and your tar paper shack with all the pieces you put together are starting to fly apart because the winds are up to 100 miles an hour, and you're realizing that you need to go to the cave. That cave is the Carrot Bar Cave. and you realize, okay, let's look at the other side of this. How would you feel, these are the questions I'd like to ask, if your friends that have got pension funds and paid homes and some money in the bank, not much, because most Americans don't. Unfortunately, I mean, the average American should have, the average senior citizen has, less than $10,000 saved. That's the average. The average person in America couldn't afford a $1,500 bill on any emergent thing like their car, their home, their air conditioner breaks, a medical copay expense or something. They can't afford it. We're talking about the middle class, and in the upper middle class, it'll strain them. That's not good. We need to have a system where you have a minimum of, say, 25% of your income for the last 10 years in some form of savings. Not just your home equity, but something that's liquid that if you had to invest in something that just came up, or you had an emergency situation, or an opportunity you could invest in. That's the kind of thing that helps people. And the same thing with small and medium business. We have too high a corporate tax rate. When I look at the financial plan of Hillary Clinton, the financial plan of Hillary Clinton is don't get involved with care pars. That's on the top of her list. This is before you get all the other things. I'm just being sarcastic here. And at the top of
Sounds
Trump's
like a
list,
Donald Trump you're pulling there.
Trump's list is be a care pars person, please. And let me be your upline, is what he'd probably say. Now, people say, you're kidding. I said, okay, well, let's put it this way. In the next few years, the number of billions of dollars or euros, or whatever currency you want to have, that's going to be lost in the economy. And the last earthquake, which happened, and I watched the movie The Big Short, it's scary. I mean, people don't understand, but the scariness needs to be taken out of it. For example, if you land in a hospital and they actually have bank blood, or your own blood is banked, and you're going to do a procedure, no problem. You're going to lose so many units of blood in the procedure. You got the blood in the bank, they just pour it into you, you're fine. Well, if you don't have that blood, things can get dicey. Your cells need oxygen. Financial oxygen, care pars.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you don't have to make change. For example, with a coin, silver or gold coin, can you make change for the products now? Because the silver is so valuable, the gold is so ridiculously valuable. A tenth of a gram coin of gold is so valuable you can't make change. If you imagine if you're to take a taxi ride, say between LA and San Diego, and the guy says, well, that's going to be $150 equivalent, which is now equivalent to, let's say it's equivalent to
a couple of grams.
1/5. Let's say it's equivalent to, well, not right now. Right now it would be equivalent to, say, 3 grams or 2.5 grams. But let's say in the future when the economy crashes, $150 taxi ride or limo ride between LA and San Diego is now equivalent to like 1/4 of a gram of gold or less.
Right.
You could do that electronically with care pars. You can't do it with gold coins. You can't do it with bartering, saying, hey, I have some really great fresh fruit in my front vegetable patch and fruit trees. Here's a bag of fruit to take me from LA to San Diego. Now, it's good to barter with your neighbors, but you need something that's barterable, that's portable. It's electronic. That's why the K exchange is there. That's why the kiosks are developing. That's why it's not just gold. This is a big news announcement. Carrot pars is a currency. Now, stack it up against 100 cryptocurrencies, or a few of the big ones like Bitcoin, even Janet Yellen, and she's always yelling for something. She's always got this look on her face like, I didn't do it. And the word is, pause yet. She looks really so guilty. Now, what's going to happen is when the economy starts to crash, and there are multiple drivers, and they'll have a zillion excuses. It happened because the Russians hit the Syrian Free Army, whatever, or the Europeans decided to force Spain to actually bail in, and there was a pitchfork revolution and the economy started causing a domino crash. They'll have a million damned excuses as to why your money and your home equity, your pension funds, and everything in your pocket is now a fraction of its value. Pete Fedek here talking about the care pars. I want to impress on everyone that every hour of this program, the Nutrimedical Report, is open to callers. The rules are real simple. No ad hominem attacks, just simply make your question or statement really concise, and you're on the air. And most of the time when we have callers, even though like in hour number 2, we're going to have the second half of hour 2, low open lines, it can be nutritional, but if you have a really good point that's relevant, for example, I just put up the health records analysis were much deeper than anything on the cable news network with even Dr. Ben Carson, who's a neurosurgeon, and others. My analysis, I've had a tremendous number of hits just in the last 2 days. It's unbelievable on Vimeo, YouTube, etc. Now, the reason why this is important is because when you get the news out there to people, that if you get involved with things like, we spend an hour every week on air talking about carrot bars. Why do we do that? Well, the reason is I care about my fellow American and fellow citizen of Earth. You'll notice that if you start building a carrot bar business, within a matter of weeks, you're going to start having people in Colombia, Egypt, Europe, all over the place that are signing up or being sponsored to you on your power leg that we give you. And you're going to start finding out that it's not that hard to get people lined up and start it. And like Jim says, and Pete says every week when we have a program, this is the best, if you want to call it, the financial lifeboats that you can select. If you want the best, for example, portable, if you want to call it home or place, if there's a catastrophe, an earthquake, or if you're on the road, it's the Turtle Tough Shelter. If you want the best nutraceuticals to resurrect your health and minimize the number of drugs you're taking, so instead of 10 drugs, maybe you're on 2. And you switch, let's say, from an ACE inhibitor to an ACE receptor blocker, and you stop taking drugs that are going to cause new complications. Well, this is the financial equivalent of advanced nutraceuticals. What do you think, Pete? So, Pete, are you there? I think he is, but I think he may be on bio break. Yeah, he's connected. Yeah. So let me go over some of the things that I'm seeing that give you some urgency in this. If you look at news, Google News, Yahoo News, Drudge Report, Drudge is one of the best, and you're seeing what's going on. You have to understand that we're only a matter of weeks to months away from a financial correction. Now, it's probably going to occur in a multiple set of what we call Jenga stick catastrophes. In other words, you pull a Jenga stick and the whole thing doesn't fall down, but it falls down sufficiently, there's a lot of pain in the economy. Right now, there's a lot of pain worldwide. That pain is going to come home to America, especially as our ally in Europe suffers major financial setbacks. The idea that the European central banks are talking about the idea of bailing in is pretty catastrophic. The idea that we're having military maneuvers and so on that are directly in confrontation with Russia and Crimea and Syria, that's insane. The idea that we're having direct military maneuvers directly against China in the South China Sea when we should be collaborating with building the Trans-Alaskan pipeline and helping the Filipinos with our oil engineers and so on to co-develop the resources there. The idea that we want to have clean coal, for example, in America instead of Hillary Clinton, who's an idiot, who doesn't want us to be the Saudi Arabia of coal, and to use other technologies other than chemical hydrofracking, which is destroying the aquifers. We want to start looking at primary water. I'll be bringing on experts from Northwestern University Department of Geology who have got the proof that there's tons of water, and it's all along fault lines. There's batholiths of water, oceans underneath the crust of the earth. What we want to tell you in the Nutrimedical report is for every problem that the globalists will pretend and tell you that there's no solution, there is. Whether it's aging or heart disease or hypertension, and it might need tweaking, it might need adjusting. So you can't just kind of park yourself and say, I'm going to take these 2 or 3 nutraceuticals and I won't have a heart attack. That's foolishness. If you haven't contacted me to find out if you have monitoring, the same with your finances. If you're not in contact with your local friends and neighbors, when financial catastrophe happens and they can't buy anything because they don't have any money in the bank and they don't have any buying power, what are you going to do when those neighbors arrive hungry, cold, and agitated and possibly armed at your home, either expecting you to share or violently take it from you? What are you going to do in society when it's not just black on white, but it's every class for themselves and every person for themselves, because we didn't care enough to tell them about carrot bars so they could save money, they'd have financial resources, they could use it even during bartering or electronic transfer. And also, to me, the big why is this is the alternative to literally the electronic system that the Bible refers to as the mark of the beast. The beast system's coming. The beast system will, and this is not a maybe, will come from America if we don't have enough grace and repentance to stop it from happening. See, the Bible isn't deterministic. Just like when Jonah was sent to Nineveh, God said, I'm going to zap them. And Jonah was angry with God because he said, how come you told me to go here and I got swallowed by a whale and spewed up on the coast because I ran in the opposite direction? And now you're not zapping them, God. So God initially had a plant come over him and give him shade while he watched to see if God was going to zap Nineveh. Nineveh repented in sackcloth and ashes, and it didn't happen for a generation or 40 years before they zapped and they stopped repenting. We could be like that with President Trump. Now, a lot of people say, he's not a Christian, he's not a this, not that. None of that's based on facts. It doesn't matter if it was last week he got a transformation, became a pro-life Christian. He's a baby Christian. Yes, he has problems with bombastic arrogance, but the man is a good man. Pence, who speaks more measuredly as a politician, makes it very clear he's lockstep with all the belief systems he has, including in the state of Indiana. They removed the right of women to seek an abortion for the genetics of the child, which 95% of the time is Down syndrome. And of course, we dealt with that at pro-life conferences, where we'd have pro-life people argue with us that Down syndrome was an exception, that you could abort based on amniocentesis and now a genetic test. No, you can't. That child, our little girl, is probably, of our 4 children, one of the most valuable people on earth, and they are so special. They changed the nature of our sons, they changed our nature, and they changed the nature of all the people that come in contact with them. So what I want people to start grasping is that we need to be change agents. We need to convince people in our local neighborhood, our friends and relatives, to say, are you saving in gold by the gram? Are you taking care of things? What do you think, Pete? I think we've lost our connection with Pete. Let's see if we can refresh that. So I don't see our connection there. Yes. Okay. Now, what I'd like to do, too, is tie this to nutraceuticals and to wellness. One of the biggest questions I often find is people say, gee, I don't have the resources to take the nutraceuticals that you recommend because they're expensive. They're not just better, they're essential. Don't get alternatives to Nutrimeds, please. Don't second-guess Dr. Deagle. Think, even if you're a physician, you know better in terms of functional medicine integrating with allopathic medicine, chiropractic, naturopathy, herbology, etc. I had one gentleman recently ask me to endorse a specific pulse magnetic field therapy with a device that I don't recommend. You can't do that. Don't second-guess Dr. Deagle. It's unwise. You're going to waste your money, and I'm not going to endorse it. I'm not going to sign off for the taxes. I want you to know that I've already looked into and found out what actually works. So the same thing with financial. There's all kinds of schemes out there. I mean, if I thought selling a multi-level kind of nutraceutical or some other technology or thing that requires a lot of inventory that you'd have to stuff in your garage, I'm not going to do that. I want you to have something that is you're literally converting your fractional reserve cash, which has some value now, into gold, which is going to retain a lot more value when the system starts to fly apart. And there's no way they're going to seize your gold. The other thing is you can do electronic transfer of funds and buy and sell across with K-Exchange around the world, because you have a certain amount of gold in your Karatbars account in Stuttgart, Germany, and you can buy and sell things without the physical transfer of the actual gold. It's better than almost anything. It's pretty amazing. And the banks and the governments can't fiddle the value of gold, except when they lose control, it's going to go up. So that's how important this is. Now, I want to touch on some of the things that will directly implant that. Obama's globalist push in America's heartland is to kind of continue to blow up the cities, so eventually we have, starting with the Bush administration, we have the federalization of police forces of cities and towns across America. We have allowing George Soros to do we call social revolutions in America and actually fund and bring in not only communists now that are joining, and they're now trying to say they're going to burn down all the white suburbs. Now, these people are neighbors, white, black, whatever nationality or color of skin. That's ridiculous. I mean, this is supposed to be a mature nation. If we want more opportunities for blacks, we need to make sure that, number one, they can get their social service checks even if there's a man in the home. We need to encourage fathers to be proxy fathers to these little black boys. Maybe they're even white guys or Hispanic guys or guys from the Middle East. They can become a proxy father of boys and girls clubs and so on, so we can actually have someone who acts as a good influence. So maybe we need to start looking at the chemistry of what's going on in these poor little children. Is their chemistry screwed up for multiple generations of bad nutrition, and epigenetically they're in trouble because they've had multiple shots and now they've got some form of autism or autism spectrum disorder or hyperactivity, and those lethal genes that cause them to become more violent are now released. let's look at it as a problem-solving kind of thing rather than a race thing or a class thing. And the next thing is, why don't we look at the idea of why the control freaks, like the Democrats, want to continue doing the same thing that is crash the economy and shrunk it. You can't tax your way out and have centrally controlled economy like the communists in Russia or China and figure it's going to work. What the Chinese have done is they've sponsored businesses that have tried to be innovative by copying us, and mostly what they're doing is getting industrial espionage because within their own system they discourage innovation. They discourage it to the point where if you innovate and do something that the state doesn't like, you can end up in a Lao-Dai prison camp. That's not going to happen in America. America will always emerge if it has a proper leaders as being the lead nation. It always will. Now, right now we're going through this spasm. Now, if Hillary Clinton and Kane, and of course most likely Hillary won't be able to function, we're going to be dealing with a situation where we're going to have President Kane, because Hillary will be in a nursing home or sitting in a rocking chair because she'll be so tired she can't do the functions of the job. So they may even cause her to be a figurehead, but it'll be President Kane who'll be operating, just like with Dick Cheney and the sort of out-of-control George Bush Jr. Dick Cheney was probably the largest office for a vice president in many decades, and his staff literally controlled everything. And he took the name. This is so evil. He took the name and told his White House staff his name was actually the Prince of Darkness. Imagine Dick Cheney, who now has had a heart transplant, is now, and of course, by the way, he got a heart transplant probably from another minion. It wasn't a heart of gold that he got transplanted. So these are intelligent and evil people, Hillary Clinton, and of course Clinton is going down. So if you don't realize that Karatbars is our attempt to try to shore up your resources, so hey, I can afford to get a hyperbaric chamber, I can afford to take the nutraceuticals regularly, I can afford to get a QRMA test. And by the way, we're now setting it up so we will have people across the country and around the world that will have QRMA and metapathia testing devices and have mild hyperbaric oxygen therapy, so if they're in your town or city, they can come and visit you. Or they can come to an area of your city where you can drive there in a short distance of time, several times a week, and you can get these tests done, and you can have them emailed to me, and I can actually analyze them or log online and tell you what's out of balance in your body. Now, it goes beyond, quote, diagnosis. It goes to the bioplasmatic, even predispositions to disease that you don't yet have, whether it's cancer or blocked artery or a major degenerative change occurring in your body. Things declare themselves with the electrical biophotonic circuits first. And then we can do functional medicine, blood, urine, stool, and imaging tests. We can refer to conventional doctors who are advanced subspecial to do special testing. We can give you high-speed scans, like high-speed CT scan and calcium score for your arteries. We can reverse the calcium and the plaque formation naturally. We can prevent you from getting a major cardiac event. We can prevent you from turning your cellular and genetic changes, epigenetic changes into cancer. And we can do that now. We don't have to wait 10 or 20 years. It's available now. So we had Jim Guerci on yesterday, and Jim is going to be one of the first. He's going to have the territory of New York and New Jersey. He may have other people sponsored under him. But what we're going to do is we're going to give territorial control to people. So if you're in a city like Milwaukee or Baton Rouge, Louisiana, if you get a device and set up a service, whether you drive out and just have the testing equipment of QRMA and metapathia, you can set up in a kiosk, you can go to someone's home, you can go to a business and start doing testing. This will allow you to collect information to give people some direction in what they need to do for their health to maintain and reverse, even pre-symptom, what's out of balance in your body. Well, the same thing goes for social justice in our healthcare system. We can't afford a system where they just have an open-ended funding, which is what Obama did. They let the insurance carriers, the big hospital networks, and the big doctor groups, primarily the hospital networks and insurance carriers, to go crazy and just raise premiums up to 50 or 60%. It didn't solve the problem. It actually contracted the resources that are available to people. It didn't integrate functional or collaborative medicine and dentistry and so on to make sure there's a comprehensive program to prevent illness. What they did is they increased the total cost and decreased the value of the services provided. Well, that's what Hillary wants to do. Pour in more money to bankrupt us and provide less service and actually choke off natural and functional medicine. That's what Hillary Care would have done, and I guarantee you, under Hillary Care, they want to make sure you don't have alternatives. You've got to go to the dictatorial, magnificent deity doctors or the specific pathways that they want you to do, and including mandatory vaccines. If you don't think that this is what control freak Democrats under Clinton and Payne want to do, you're delusional. And whether you get a better result, they don't care, as long as they maintain control. So it's important to start kind of grasping. You need to take control of your geopolitical and your spiritual future too. Confront your pastors. Why don't they get involved with geopolitics? Why aren't they bringing up issues about abortion and the borders and other things, and getting rid of the issues and the inflammatory statements that Trump is a misogynist or a racist? How sickening these comments when you see we call out of control media making misstatements and plain-faced lies and blowing it up and then getting angry that you don't accept their lies on the media, getting red-faced over it. Well, the end of this is if you buy their story, you're going to elect Clinton and Kane. You're going to see healthcare deteriorate further. You're going to see natural medicine disappear to a great extent or become illegal. You're going to see the economy start to crash. And when they can't recharge the EBT cards, you're going to see social unrest to the point where Milwaukee will look like a walk in the park, which is a disaster. And you'll see white-on-black violence and black-on-white violence, and you'll see the rise of neo-Nazis to say, we're not going to put up with this anymore, and you're going to see a lot of really bad things. There's no need for that. None of it. This is because the powers that be benefit by maintaining a healthcare system that doesn't really heal you, a financial system that bankrupts you, a social system that starts race and cultural wars and class wars. That's because the only way they can maintain power is with the masters of chaos. That's what they are. And welcome back. And the issues we talked about earlier about being able to afford even to take care of your health with Nutrimeds. One of the skill sets that I have, besides trying to help people, is our ministry. And by the way, this is free, F-R-E-E. You don't need to pay if you email me what your continued health issues are. In the same way, if you have financial issues, I will give you inspiration, knowing what your skill sets are, talking to you by email as to what things are going on in your life and what things you can do to give you ideas on how to build a secondary income. The first thing to do, number one, is Carapars. The second thing is maybe you have skill sets and you just don't realize that you have a way of generating and starting your own kind of online business or service that you provide or even education. And it's important to understand if you don't build up a residual income above your expenses, you're never going to get ahead. And Carapars is the best way to do that. Now, we've been working on this since last summer. Or early fall, I guess. How long would it be now? It's actually not last summer. Yeah, maybe early fall last year. So it's getting close to a year now. And it's amazing how many people we've sponsored in how many countries around the world. What we want you to understand is that if you just sit there, like many of our people, they'll suddenly realize, oh my gosh, look at all the people that Nutrimedical has put under me that are potential people that could be working the business and actually building networks that will give me points that'll mean cash as gold in my account in Stuttgart, Germany, that I can either have the gold shipped to me, say, every so many months, I guess under $2,500 in U.S. value, so you don't end up with some special duties on the gold. You can use K-Exchange to actually buy and sell goods and services around the world. You can advertise your business in the back office without paying a cent because other people with Carapars, and eventually, right now you're saving Carapars, but eventually as the currencies start to devalue, people are going to want to buy and sell services and goods in Carapars. It's that simple. Why do we want to do this? We want to make sure that you have a buffer against economic chaos. We want you to say, hey, I'm making an extra, let's say after 12 weeks, an extra $500 a week with Carapars. Now I can afford to take the supplements I want. Now I have a savings account. Now I have an ability to do things I want to do with travel or upgrading your car or other things. And it doesn't become a drain on you. The average person that goes bankrupt in America would not go bankrupt if they had an extra $400 a month income. How easy is it to do that with Carapars, with just a phone? Even if you're blind, we can do things with Braille computers and other things. And I'm so motivated when I see people that have basically very little that really want to do the business and start to succeed because they just do it. They just get there and say, hey, Dr. Deagle, I've been listening to you. I want you to help me to get my vision back. Now I want you to help me get my finances back because I have all this time on my hands. I'm disabled and at home, and I'll either use a phone or a Braille computer, and I'm going to do it. and we give them sizzle calls, we give them backup, and before you know it, they're building a network of people that are saving in gold. That simple. So pick up the email, pick up the phone. If you contact us, we'll plug you into our networks and training with Jim Deal, Pete Feddick. We'll make sure that you get the kind of support you need in order for you to succeed. We only succeed if we help you succeed. Back in hour number 2 in just a moment. And Jim Alexander, major updates on what's going on in the health records of Hillary, the latest scandals over the emails in the Clinton Foundation, the latest what's in the war drums beating, many more important topics. We'll be back in just a moment. Stay tuned. Hour 2 coming up on Tuesday, August 16th.